All right, here we go again. Buckle up. Try to make those rough roads less rough. So I never knew for sure who all was involved with the civil affairs type of program, this intelligence program that was bringing the immigrants here. I mean, obviously the cartels and the coyotes are part of it, but to me it seemed like somebody else was also, other entities, foreign spies, whatever it is. So we have to counter that. And I've been saying that for years with our own civil affairs program that encourages them using psychological methods. Not, we're not going to hurt anybody, but psychological methods to encourage them not to come here. A little gargle in there, mouthwash, Listerine. So it's just like the Palestinians. We can actually make them peaceful and love Israelis. It's in our psychological capability. They were just being immature about it and risking everything. So there's even the CIA. It's lawful for the CIA to get involved. I've been telling you that for years. The CIA can run a program that encourages the migrants not to come here. It's not unlawful. It's legal. Right. I mean, they can't use certain methods, but I don't think they would need to. So again, it's a combination effect. Right. I mean, Homan is doing it. Homan's part of it. Bad cop. That's part of the deterrence, right? Thank you. But there's a lot that can be used, a multitude of methods. We also should send those special. I knew, as I was saying, call up some special forces because they'll figure it out. So again, special operations CA teams, right? We need them on the border to assess the situation and figure out what we should do. Again, there's differing levels of those type of operations. So we need military intelligence people in there with I think they do the drones, the larger drones, and we need military intelligence people in there doing the civil affairs programs. We're not going to mess with people's heads and make them crazy, but there's ways to do it. Again, I believe the coyotes. There's no doubt the coyotes and the cartels are running a civil affairs program to encourage people to migrate. Right, 100%. So we need to counter that. Again, you have to be intelligent. You have to be smarter than what comes against you. All I needed was money, and they never would have got even 2 foot into my life where it would have mattered. So again, if they couldn't commit crimes, then none of it could be done. However, if I had money to counter it, then it wouldn't have mattered. Right. All right. So everything looks great, but we have to. And again, I know we're already running some of those operations out of some of them bases down there. There's a ton of bases, air bases, and there's an Army base, and there's Epic and all that. So I know we're running something down there. It's simply, can we run more? We need as much early warning as we can get. We want the entire border covered if we can. Again, it's an awesome effect. That's even part of the civil affairs type of, or the psychological effect, when we have all that early warning detection and we're nowhere to be seen. And all of a sudden the early detection goes off, and then helicopters come swooping in, and all of a sudden there they are. And you can't, you think it's, they do their surveillance, they do their recons, nobody's here, we're safe. They take one step towards the United States, and then wham, helicopters come over the horizon, and that's it. Right. That has a great effect, or a great deterrence effect. Well, because if they can't beat the system, again, they can beat it to a certain degree, but if they can't beat the system, then it really discourages them. What's encouraging now is they found so many ways around our system. So I don't know what that FLIR costs, but they're recommending the FLIR at this point, I guess. Looks like a pretty good system for what we would use. And the man-portable ones are important too to look at. I imagine the military has some of that somewhere. That's the cheapest way to do any of it. But again, we still need to look at that for the future, if we need to put those FLIR devices on top of telephone poles or something. But again, we don't want to buy that and have them damage it, so we need to make sure we know we can keep it protected. We could put it at the top of a pole that is probably very difficult to climb without falling off, where they have to go around something, and it's just not amenable to what they're doing. Right. So we have to build a foolproof mount for it somewhere, and then it would work. Unless we're just going to do the portable stuff, put it on trucks or whatever it is. But the key is to have every inch of that border covered with an alarm, some sort of, FLIR or ground surveillance radar alarm. And then on top of that type of display, again, we should build a display. We'll have all the units, right, their GPS and all that, so we can better see what's happening. I don't know what you have on a border. I recommended something like this years ago. May have been there before I recommended it. I don't know. And then it would also be nice to have state and local police, their GPS also on that map, and with our capability to contact that unit that we see on the map. And again, some will opt out, and that's okay. That's a prerogative. I don't think you can charge them for opting out. I went through it in my mind, and well, maybe Home was there. I don't know. Well, the idea is this: that they do have a legal responsibility to engage in law enforcement. They are the law enforcement for that community. So if they decide to opt out, are they actually culpable under immigration law? Because if they, again, I brought this up before, if they weren't there, somebody else would be there and they'd be doing their job, and so they are kind of obstructing justice. They may not actually under professional responsibility. What's the other thing? Uh, Malfeasance, nonfeasance, and all that. There, which again, it may not. Does it rise to the level of obstruction of justice, or is it simply, malfeasance? And can you sue them on malfeasance? Well, because they do have a professional responsibility to do their job. I mean, just because they don't believe in something doesn't mean that that avenue exists for them to violate that. So I guess Hegseth got in there. We need Christy Noem in there. There's a lot going on in DHS. Even I realize Trump moved a lot of it, and you could say, well, you all moved it, Trump moved it, but we even the officer being shot, she needs to get in there, and she needs to be in the middle of that with them. Well, because it involves ICE and it involves Border Patrol, and she should be, it'd be a good thing for her to see and understand. So we have a lot of bodies. We have a lot of people that are qualified higher. Military police are qualified higher than your average military Joe when it comes to these type of things. So I believe that's going to make things easier. They're probably cleared for databases and things, or could be very easily. I can't remember what the clearance is for the military police that aren't garrison. Military intelligence people, that they're highly cleared, so you won't have any problems with clearances on them. But again, conscientious. If we have some conscientious immigration objectors, then we, anything could happen. I think the majority of the people that deployed are into it. Again, it's better than sitting at the base and doing nothing. Now, some people have families; they might be like, eh. So in North Carolina, if you actually deploy people, and I see you took people out of the 82nd already, but if you get your heavy equipment out of, and you may have already done it, I don't know, but if you got Fort Bragg, or Fort Bragg, North, or Fort Moore, or whatever it is, North Carolina, and then you have Benning, or whatever they call it now, in Georgia. So these are nearby forts, and if you move your heavy equipment out of there, you might be allowed. And not every like if you're a bachelor, you'll stay in. You won't go back to the fort unless you got to get something out of your room or something, right? But you got families. It's always good for them to be able to get home for, maybe I guess a 4-day. Maybe that's probably the best way to do it. Maybe once a month, give them a 4-day pass, and they drive home, right? Or you give them a way home. So again, we have to remember morale. They're all deploying right now. They're fresh at school. Everything's okay. We need to make it stay that way. I don't know if what they've done is, I know when we were in Desert Storm, the idea of this recreation came up after the war. They had started already building rec centers in Saudi Arabia. Maybe a base now. I don't know. Where we did the stand down point, maybe I've actually turned into a base because they were building rec centers and stuff. I never got to use any of it. I didn't even have like a solid meal for the longest. Just sat there with dysentery. It's horrible. Then they tried to accuse me of scam, and I'm like, this wasn't my idea. In fact, I got sick because I didn't have any real water to drink. Right. A lot of people got sick, but they were leaving me by myself, so they couldn't do that. And again, they said, it was a good idea to bring me in there. I could be, start hallucinating and stuff like that. Then this guy's like, "What do you want?" Guy from California. What do you want? What do you mean? What I want? What kind of pills do you want? No, I don't want any pills. Will help you sleep, bud. I'm like, no, I'm okay. He's probably like an augmentee because he well, maybe he was assigned to the Kansas hospital. I don't know how that works, but I would think it would be everybody in Kansas, right? He's probably like an augmentee. He wanted me to get all drugged up. I remember he was from California or something. Nah, it was the deep state probably that tried to insinuate that I was getting over. Because it eventually made it into the medal category. Like you don't get a medal because you 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 scammed us. What do you mean I scammed you? You all were sleeping and I was awake during the majority of the ground war. I didn't sleep for a long time, and then finally I crashed. I couldn't stay awake. And then I remember the platoon sergeant. He was in E6. He was like, I guess the platoon sergeant left or something, and then he took it over. And he came in from second platoon. It was Morphus from Arkansas. And I just hear this Arkansas accent. And he's speaking English like they understand, Put your hands up! And he's stepping on my head. I didn't even like try to fall asleep. I guess I passed out, and then he went up in the cupula. Right. There's a Desert Storm, and then I was up in the cupula again. Because like when I explained when I saw that dude, and eventually God said that's like an Arabian king or something. Guy with the beard, I'm like, he's in a track, he's wearing military clothes, and he could be CIA. I don't know who he was. Muhyiddin, I don't know. He just goes by us in that battle. That's when we inhaled a lot of that irradiated uranium smoke. It was a meme tank battle, and everybody was like kind of crashed at that point if you weren't like running a tank or I was the track commander, so I was up out in the cupula. Right. Well, the weird part was I was totally against this. We were in the rear behind a bunch of Marines, and actually, Christopher Shaw was in my academy class. I think he was one of the Marines that was doing the security between I guess it was Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, and we were training up for the G-Day breach, and they were making us do 50% security. I mean, you really need to rest, Right, so they kind of made people tired before we even went. I was totally against that. 25% would have been sufficient. Right. I had the weirdest dream right when the air war started. When I woke up, the troops were all watching it's just the bombing had just started. But I was sleeping on a bunch of I don't know how many pounds of C4 and Bangalore's and. That's what I attribute it to. But I was sleeping on all that explosives, and I wake up. I was walking on a mound of skulls, and I had a rifle. I was military clothes. I was walking on a mountain of skulls, and then eventually my forehead fell off. And I attribute that to probably being the mark of the beast. Or something like that. It was just weird. and then like I wake up, they're like, "Oh wow, look at that one." It was just weird. But it was like I was walking on a mound of skulls because I was unsteady and I was like, it's hard to walk on. It was weird. And then that's when the air war began. just as it was beginning. And I'm walking, and then my forehead falls off. I'm not like injured or anything. It's just something on my forehead goes. Maybe it was a block in the middle eye. I don't know. It just wasn't very clear what it was. But I wasn't awakened back then, so it didn't mean really anything. Just I think I inhaled too much C4. So I remember when we did G-Day. There was a bunch of grunts around us. We traded C4. What did we trade? Oh, for grenades. We traded C4 for, we had extra grenades. So we gave the grunts some C4. They gave us some grenades. And then, which I think we ended up using on the initial breach. Because what happened is everybody went forward and they never cleared the bunkers. So we were the ones, the engineers were the ones. I think this is why a couple of us got, this is why a couple of us got this Bronze Stars or whatever. So nobody cleared the bunkers, and I look over and I see all these Iraqi heads popping out of the bunkers. I mean, they could have killed us, right? Or not me, but anybody, because everybody was unbuttoned, right? So when they're unbuttoned, you can get them. M1 Bradleys. I mean, that's the only way to take us out, right? When we're unbuttoned. Because what happened is we did the breach. It was later on in the morning, and we leapfrog. What happened is once we do the breach, then everybody starts going through and they leapfrog. They go in front of us. So we were at that point kind of a rear element, just for a short period of time, because we were supposed to all die. Be combat ineffective. Talking about like 70 to 85% or something like that casualties. That's what they were calling for. But there was a trick that they figured out with satellites that it didn't happen that way. It made it easier. So we spun the track around. I put the 50 cal on them, and then one of our non-commissioned officers got out of the other track. Sergeant Kuhn was his name. I was worried that he was deeply affected by it, and he just was different after that. He was a drinker to begin with, I understand, but he'd been one of the guys that rotated back from Germany. A lot of those guys picked up a lot of drinking habits, right? More so than just the average soldier. Well, he grenaded. They wouldn't come out. He popped a few grenades in there. I think after that, eventually they started coming out. Right. So. You tell him, get out, come on out. He wouldn't come out. He tossed a grenade in a couple of the bunkers, and I think after that they understood to come out. Right. But I was in every place I'm supposed to be, doing everything I'm supposed to do. so they tell me, because I'm a self-starter, they appoint me to go to the rear to set up a stand-down point, and they're supposedly going to come down in a few days. Well, they get a follow-on mission, and I'm stuck down alone. So the day I get back to my unit after going to the hospital, well, they're going to take everybody away from me. I was going to be there alone. So we can't leave me alone. They took me to the hospital, and they said, well, it's good you came here because you could have started hallucinating and going out. Right. Did a quick test. They found the amoeba and all that. Now, we don't know. Again, the Army's not going to tell you if it's Saddam's amoeba, That's the point, They're not going to tell you. They already lied about stuff. Because the CIA prepared a report about chemical weapons, and they left out our Charlie Company's incident. Because we were just mad blowing up everything that we could, because we were going to have to pull. I think we did. We had to pull out of this area because we were in Iraq, and we were going. We're going to have to pull out of this area. So let's destroy everything we can that belongs to these military hardware and everything else. And they come up to us one day and they say, Don't blow anything up with stolen crossbones. I'm like, duh. The chemical symbol or biological symbol. I said, why would you say that to me? And they said, well, Charlie Company blew some of that up. And actually, I think the alarms went off and everything. And that's like not on the CIA report. So they really don't know where and when. So the water was definitely tainted, but who tainted it and how it tainted, we don't know. So I get back to my unit. I had to work to get back to my unit because this system wasn't built to get me back to the 1st Infantry Division, 1st Engineer Battalion. So I get back to the stand down point because I knew that a 7th Corps unit could get me back if they came for their mail run. And I said, hey, can you drive me? I'm at the first. I'm gonna need to get to the 1st engineer stand down point. And he said, sure. And they drove me, and I hopped out. And they're like, you're going back up to Iraq. I'm like, okay. So I get in there. We drive all the way to Iraq, and they go, okay, now we're going back down to the stand down point. And they turn right around, but they held it against me. I mean, it was bizarre. But again, I didn't realize what was going on there. The lieutenants were freaked out because all deep state shit. Right? So the lieutenants were all freaked out because they knew about the deep state. Like if you go to like West Point, you might figure out the deep state real quick, right? Or while you're at West Point. Right. So again, Lieutenant Chi was pretty good for that. Where was he at? Was he Big Red One or was he 101st? I think Chi was 101st, maybe. Where's the Big Red One? I can't remember. No, I think it was Big Red One. He was good at figuring that stuff out. But he was West Point. All the West Point, I think he was West Point. All the West Point guys seemed like they knew about the deep state, but I didn't know what they were talking about. So the deep state actually used that as an opportunity to deny me something. Again, whenever you're about to get something, that's when they act. So like when I went to PLDC, they were monkeying around. Right. But again, it hadn't infiltrated the military like my platoon. Maybe that's why they attacked me, because I could encourage not to let that happen. We had a non-commissioned officer. I told you before. I helped this guy get out of the military. He had psychological issues because of something deep state kind of. And the one guy, like, just really, I don't know what he did to him, but another non-commissioned officer. I don't think he did it again. I think he's deep state, and he did him, and then he was freaked out over the results of how he did him, and I don't think he did him again, did anybody else. Right. It was Sergeant Moore, get this guy out of the military. And I went and chaptered him out. Right. All it takes is somebody that's deep state to start, working within the community. Again, if they have anything to do with, again, I never knew cops were as corrupt as they were. So a corrupt FBI agent, a corrupt anybody could have did it, right? But it's obvious that there was something there. And again, I didn't know what it was, and they're not going to tell me what it is, but they're, hinting. So if I had known the deep state existed, I could figure it out. They got the colonel involved in some of the stuff. I'm just looking at him like, what? That was a big setup. It was obvious. Couple times. Yeah, they'll be judged in the afterlife. Go to hell for stuff like that. I'm real because that's the sins of power. That's really where you go to hell. The sins of power. If you read the scriptures, if you're powerless, then nobody cares. I mean, God doesn't care. Why is God going to hold you culpable for what somebody spelled into your life? God wouldn't. But all the weirdos think, that it's the opposite. All those deep state weirdos. So everything's starting to look good. The unit selection looks great. Got that Fort Drum, Fort Campbell, Fort Riley, Fort Bragg. We just need to find some of them specialty people and specialty units. We do need special ops if they're available. Again, it's very busy. MOS. Again, we have some National Guard too that might not be doing much. Although they were deploying for a while. Actually, I take that back. They were very busy because they were available to augment and to go to one-off assignments and stuff. And they were doing a lot of different, Africa, Syria. So, but whatever we can get, we need some, special operators that know what they're doing. Like we get some experience. And again, you might find somebody who doesn't deploy that much because, they've been in a long time. They're doing the remainder of their time in the National Guard or Reserve, or it could be like in some weird place. You'll find battle-hardened special operations, special forces guys, just working some battalion headquarters or brigade headquarters or division headquarters in some Renfo job because, it's just time to relax after all those years, right? But they may be able to help you on the border, though. You bring them down to the border and they can, kind of the thing I'm doing, but like on scene. What they'll do, you need somebody who can tell you what to bring in for what assignment. Of course, now you're doing the engineers. You're doing it right. The engineers come in. They do the defensive positions. You got your military police coming in. At a certain point, we're going to need military intelligence. But if we can get some special forces guys that have a broad history. Of operations, and they can think their way through one-off type operations. Some people, I can do it, but some people can just like stand on a hilltop and just envision the battlefield in front of them and really take that technology and convert it into border patrol and stuff like that. So I don't know what you have. Again, you have places like Epic, and I know Border Patrol probably has some electronic surveillance command centers and things like that. So we want the entire border viewable. And again, you zoom and you can do all the other stuff. But we want the entire border viewable using whatever. And then if we can superimpose our people's GPS. I mean, it may not be built yet. I think the military has something that does that. I don't know if it's sufficient to do what we need. Because if we have the right electronic surveillance and we know where all the cops are and all that, we could have them waiting for these people, even if they get past us. And that's where the drones come in and stuff too. If we have the full-size drones patrolling, they can follow some people where they can't see them, and and then when we do get a cop or a sheriff in, he can zip down on them real quick. So we need alternatives to the helicopters. We need contingency plans. Again, I guess that's something I haven't spoke on that much. We have to work on contingency plans, and that's how it works. That's how early warning and rapid deployment works. You have a lot of contingency plans, and if one group misses it, the next group picks it up. Again, zone defense and all that. So we need to develop all our contingency plans. You know, if nothing works, then you still have a plan. I think that was one of the successes of our military, is we were always the Ranger handbook and the contingency plan. And Ranger handbooks might want to come out and start looking into that again. Warning orders, operations orders, and some of the stuff that's in the Ranger handbook always comes in handy. And it has power. If you read it, it has power. And that power could transfer into your mind, and maybe you have a little more vision. Like I told you, I used to read Special Forces manuals and SEAL manuals. So there's power in them things. Sergeant Grant made me a clerk, and I don't know how much clerk work I actually did. But Sergeant Grant was an NCOIC of the Sapper Leader course when I was there. So when I get up to 3rd Brigade, which was essentially the light, or the 3rd Brigade, we weren't on the DMZ. We were just short of the DMZ because we had a mission to blow up a bridge. So we couldn't be on the DMZ theoretically for whatever reason. Right. And but we were the DMZ engineers, and that was the 3rd Brigade, the Light Brigade. Just when the light concept was beginning, light infantry. So what they did is they actually took the Ranger concept and began applying some of that to the TO&E and all that of the light units. We were actually, we were almost air mobile. I think there was enough helicopter assets to almost consider us air mobile. So I was there during the Olympics, which is, again, the United States metaphysically puts their power people in place. They actually issued us shotguns because they were protesting. I think we had to qualify with them too. So we had shotguns standing when the protests went by. We had shotguns standing there. We're at the fence. Right. What was I bringing up that for? 3rd Brigade. When I was a clerk, I ordered all these manuals in. I prepared, like, if you wanted to become the old guard or something, I had a cheat sheet for it. If you wanted to go military, like, they had different programs: military intelligence program, the Ranger program, the Special Forces program, non-commissioned officer medical. So I made cheat sheets that told you, what you had to do to apply. So I don't know how much clerk work I actually did. And then I taught all the non-commissioned officers the Sapper stuff at the Sapper demo stuff at a course, which is weird because I was like an E4 specialist. When I left, like, I didn't have like a Department of the Army promotion to corporal. I had a local promotion to corporal when I went to Sapper school. They actually promoted me to go to Sapper school, and and so that went away when I got out of the Army. I went back in. I was out for about 6 months. Went back in. Went to Korea. So I was in E4, and I was teaching these E6s and E5s. I guess a couple E7s, all that demolitions. It was kind of weird, but it was fun. But Sergeant Grant used me, and then he treated me like shit at the end. And I believe it was the deep state that turned it. Again, if you tell him I committed a crime and raped somebody or something, of course, I don't know what they did to make him believe it, but so he treated me like shit, and everything fell apart. And then at a certain point, they were trying to block me from marrying my girlfriend, which became my wife. And I called Senator Hines, called my mother, and she said, "Time to call Senator Hines." In fact, that might be why they killed him or why he died. I mean, that there's a curse on me. I mean, Major. Again, I am an angel man. Again, I'm a man here, but I was an angel, and God promoted me to an angel for whatever reason. So that may have gotten him killed. I mean, that's how serious this all is. Well, because he helped me get married. There's a curse on me not to be with a woman. I'll tell you that. And again, these people get paid to keep me away from women. They're sickos, man. Serious. I mean, I've seen it in my lifetime. So I ordered all those manuals. But I had manuals before. Like before I went in the Army, I was reading Gung Ho and Soldier of Fortune as a kid. I'm like big in El Salvador inside, but I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know I'm actually like projecting out into the astral plane of the world and with these people. I used to support the Contra, was it the Contras? Or was that the Nicaraguans? Which one was I supporting? I was supporting the El Salvador guys fighting Nicaragua. Been years since I studied all that. And then I supported the Mujahideen during the Russian invasion, like inside, but I didn't know I was. Again, I was asleep. Well, while I was awake, I'd probably been a SEAL. And maybe I would have been dead young. I don't know. That's probably what would have happened if I had been awake. That's probably the first thing I latched on to. But it's so funny, you think when I think about when I go into the MEP station, and I had this like astronomical ASVAB score. My recruiter, I don't know, maybe my recruiter was upset because he won't get as high credit because I didn't go for some tech job. But I go in, the guy sits me down in front of the video, and I see this dude running around blowing stuff up, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. Then my recruiter picks me up. I think I forgot where he picked me up, but he's like totally discouraged because I'm not like a nuclear scientist technician or something. I mean, I don't know what he would expect me to be. I don't know. Again, it's being a 12 Bravo was one of the probably best choices I ever made in my life. And then the thing is, I go straight to the 101st, which is amazing. 100%. And then when I get there, I'm like in the reception station. It's like all these Ranger dudes running around because I think they were in air assault school. I'm seeing them, they're seeing me, but I didn't know what seeing meant. Again, if I knew what seeing was, I maybe would have tried to be a Ranger. And then I'm out running by myself, like maybe a year or two later, and I guess about 2 years later, because I think I already went to Egypt and all that. And then these Force Recon guys were probably at air assault school to get the badge. They come in and they do that for whatever that time period is, and and they're all running in formation, and I'm seeing them, and they're seeing me. It's not being awake is a big detriment. And again, some of you don't even know you're awake and how it works, but you have an intuition from being awake. Right. Again, the whole awoke thing might have been a psyop to dirty what I was trying to say about being awakened. Because some people, like the people I speak about, not just some people, the people I speak about believe other people don't deserve anything and they don't deserve to be awakened. They think they're special people. Kind of a doctrine of angels. A doctrine of angels doesn't point to God. If I say I'm an angel and I point to God, that's not a doctrine of angels. I'm just thinking. I'm trying to work through because I can feel it. You know, I can feel it. Something missing something that we can use. We went over morale. What do we got for helicopter deployments? Did we assign that yet? I know some units are coming in from Fort Campbell. I think we haven't moved. I mean, you maybe have already planned it, but I don't think we've moved in the helicopters. But Fort Drum's got helicopters that we could use. Fort Campbell has helicopters we could use. Again, you might have to build a facility. I guess you have a couple of air bases nearby, or bases. They don't even need air bases for helicopters. Well, we want to try to keep them out of the open desert or open terrain if we can. I mean, obviously, oh, that's right. You moved the helicopters in today, right, from the Marine Corps, the V2Ls. Right. So I don't know where they're based. Again, they probably get based at Bliss But what I'm getting at is if we can, let's keep those things maintenance. Let's keep them in a clean environment as much as we can. Obviously, they're going to be out there in the field transporting, but we need to. If we can move them to a clean storage location while they're not actively operational, we need to do that. And if we don't have one, we could build one. But again, you could use almost any location that's clean. Anything that's got a concrete pad for an extended section, maybe a couple warehouses, whatever it is. Always concerned about maintenance on those things and keeping them clean when we can. Again, obviously in a military combat environment, it's difficult to do that sometimes. So they are built to survive, but the more we care for them and the more we maintenance them and we keep them in clean environments when we're not operational, the more likely we won't have an issue. Now the V2ALs are kind of big too. Again, they're very resilient aircraft, but sometimes for what we're doing, it'd be better to get the Blackhawks in if they're left. I guess we still have Blackhawks and things. Blackhawks and even those, what do they call it? The Lakotas. Well, I mean, they have use, and of course, some of the missions that I've outlined, I think they have that capability there. I have to study up on those because it's been a couple years since I even looked at them, and I didn't look at them at depth as what they're doing and how we do with them, what kind of missions they can do. But we want something. We want something agile and fast and small in some of this, some of the environments we're working in. We need Lakotas. Yeah, if there's any app, Lakota, I guess, is the Huey, the modern Huey. Right. And I don't know if there's any left. National Guard probably has them for sure. And bring in the Blackhawks. Like, we don't even really need the Blackhawks. If they had Hueys, we'd be fine with Hueys. I don't even think they use them anymore. Right. So again, the Lakota is probably something similar. I can't remember how many people we can fit in there. The V2L for some of what we're doing is kind of overkill. And I don't know if that's the initial transport helicopter or that's what you're looking at as operational. And it's not a problem to use them, but we just need to have the other helicopters available for some quick down and dirty. I don't think we need that little thing. Where you put like 4 team members in there hanging on the outside or something. I forget what that thing is. I mean, we could use it. I mean, who has that? The Texas. I think Texas Rangers have one of those. I can't remember. Little bird or something. I forget what they call that thing. Right. Right, the difference between the people movers and then like just the small team operation aircraft. That's where we're going to really, uh, as far as cost effectiveness, and where the rubber meets the road. It was down and dirty aircraft that can zip around and get where they need to get to quick and land almost anywhere. Right. The V2L is kind of a little more fickle and needs a little bit more room. Right. Again, we're looking at the helicopters that they use for spec ops, as far as those small team operations, and again, larger aircraft too. But so the idea of just coming, like, nobody's there, nothing looks like it's there. This is a safe place to come across, and then you zip in in a Lakota, with a few guys or gals, that kind of thing, kind of freak them out a little bit, and then it gives a little bit of deterrence. Very clear. So I guess, what's the Texas Rangers SWAT team doing? I looked them up before. Can you put them in with their I think they got helicopters. That's why I'm saying they may actually be part of the Texas, Guard anyway. If I'm correct what I'm seeing inside. All right. Like, who's in that Special Forces unit down there? Texas Department of Public Safety Specialized Units. Special Operations Group is comprised of 6 programs that effectively deal with the threats posed. Ranger Reconnaissance Team. Okay, they're already down there, I guess. SRTs. Right. So I guess they're already there. But that's what we need as far as increasing that theory and that use, and bringing regular Army and Marines and National Guard in. So, for all intents and purposes, you could bring your force recon in if they're available. I know there's a lot of special ops missions here and there across the globe, and you want to leave them with their family so they can enjoy some family life for a little while. But I think we would benefit from some of that, especially if we can use them, in those helicopters and they come zipping in. I mean, military police can do it also, but again, transference of knowledge and capability. So it's a great opportunity to bring your force recon in, to bring your special forces in, and then they hook up with the military police, and the military police get some extra training, some extra knowledge. Again, it's not all restricted information. They can be cross-trained a little bit. And I say special forces and force recon, and because part of their mission has been to go like to Africa and train people in Africa. Go to Syria and train people in Syria. So we have them do the same thing here. Again, some of our people are indigenous people. As far as their experience and what they do, they just train our people. Again, I've had some experience training. I explained how I don't think we trained McVeigh, but our other companies may have trained McVeigh in explosives and field expedient explosives. So over here at Fort Riley, towards the end of my military time, I trained the infantry in field expedient demolitions. And I know I didn't train McVeigh because he wasn't in our in our brigade. We were in different brigades. I just trained the infantry in our brigade. So again, people have this capability, and not to say that you train them in field expedient demolitions, but you train them in this stuff, how to operate. And then the pilots, task force, where are they at? Where's that task force at? What are they doing? Are they still around? I think they may have gotten disbanded. I don't remember all the stuff here. I mean, they killed me, man. I just woke up. They really killed me. I couldn't even think to heal myself and get myself healed by doctors or anything, or massage. They psyoped me to death. May have drugged me. I'm not kidding. Night Guardians or something. Wait, here's one. That's not who I was talking about. Oh, yes, it is. Night Stalkers. 160th. Right. They were actually Camel, I think, when I was there. At least, yeah, they are Fort Campbell. Are they? So they're still going? Okay, yeah. So, okay, yeah, they're still around. So we look up 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment. You can just bring them in. You don't have to bring a bunch of them in, but bring some of them in because they fly a little different, and you give people experience in that. So, like you say, you could bring a couple of. You could put like 2 MPs or 3 MPs or 4 MPs in there, and a special ops guy, and they take off with the 160th, and they do some of the stuff and teach them some of the things, and then they have a little bit of extra repertoire. Again, some of these people that are in the military police, like I said, they're combat military police. So some of them are combat veterans. So, yeah, I'd bring in some of the people from Task Force 160th, Aviation, and Night Stalkers, and see what they can do. Again, having that extra capability, and then it's a great experience when you have some great pilots like that. It's a different world. We were my first taste of that was actually in Huey's. It was just the weirdest thing, and I got this link to Vietnam War because I used to study it and all this. But I brought it before my platoon sergeant found out that the National Guard needed flight time. And they wanted flight time with whoever, a mission. They wanted to do a mission, whether it's training or not, because they don't want to just go up in the sky and fly and that's it. So we're sitting there, and we get alerted. My platoon sergeant had arranged for these National Guard pilots, and they're all, salty. Some were younger, the crew and stuff like that. But the pilots some of them were Vietnam veterans and things like that. So they were great at what they did. I mean, these weren't even the 101st, man. These were like National Guard dudes, right? The 101st guys were pretty mellow compared to them. So they come in at their Hueys, and I mean, they burn in to the LZ. I'm thinking, it's on. And then we get up in there, and they fly crazy for a while. We had a bunch of explosives. We were doing a cradling charge. I can't remember. We did some field expedient. I think we had some shape charges to blow the hole. Oh, that's it. We had the shape charges to blow the hole, and then we had, again, it's probably what McVeigh used, the chicken manure, or the chicken manure, whatever it is, chicken shit, they call it. Right. It's kind of what McVeigh used, but we did it to blow a crater in the ground. What you do is you deny access to a road by blowing the crater. Right. So we had some people had backpacks just full of so much stuff, all that mixture. And the helicopters burned in the LZ, and we got out. I don't think we repelled out. I think we just burned. Yeah, because I remember the crew lady. Right. So we did a mission there, but boy, they could fly. And then in Korea, those pilots were phenomenal. I don't know what their claim to fame was. Nap of the Earth in Korea, that's something else, because it's all those hills and small mountains and stuff. Right. So they're doing Nap of the Earth and Arkatyusa. In Korea, you have people that are attached to your unit that are Korean, just in case you need translators. And it's usually somebody whose father's got some juice or mother's got some juice, and they get a cush assignment with an American unit. And we were in there, and they were doing Nap of the Earth, which means they were flying the contour of the Earth. So if it goes, so you got these abrupt ups, and then you go over the top of the mountain or the hill, and you just kind of like, just for a second, you're just kind of floating, and then wah, down the other, like a roller coaster almost. And the Katyusha was freaking out. They had pictures and everything. I took pictures of them going, ah! Everybody's laughing. I forgot what that mission was for. But those guys could fly. They're probably some of the best pilots I've ever been with. I don't know, what it was all about. Like, why are these guys this good? That kind of deal. They were good. So again, that kind of thing. Just start giving them some experience. Again, safety is important, but if they can learn some of the other stuff, again, it gives them confidence. They get a couple of special forces guys in with some task force 160th people, and again, some of it we're going to want spec ops people if we can keep them there for a while operating with task force 160th, because at night, that's the kind of people we want, right? A little more capable. And I know Texas has a Special Forces National Guard unit, so we can work that out. Again, you could go to Texas National Guard and probably find, a Task Force 160 quality pilot, and maybe somebody that used to be in Task Force 160. So do what you do. So all I'm saying is get some really good pilots in there, get some SF people in there. We don't need those VTOLs necessarily, right, for some of this, especially at night. But again, you could. So what you have to do is you have to get them on the ground. They have to decide what's important to know as far as what they know from their repertoire of military experience, and then they could develop a class to train the others. And so, like, you go out at night, you have a couple SF team members, you have a couple of military police people. You say, okay, Sergeant so and so and Specialist so and so, you're gonna ride with whatever rank, platoon sergeant so and E7 so and master sergeant so and so, or whatever it is. Right. And then they show them how to do the stuff. So that when the military police are out doing their thing, now they have this, whatever training the SF gave them. Thank you. And it gives them a little bit extra, oomph, feeling a little bit more proud of what they're doing. Right. Well, again, they're going to go where we're not. So we at least have to show that we are where we're not, at least part of the time. Again, that's a tactic from Vietnam. Right. We have to make it look like we're everywhere. So we'll if we have the Night Stalkers in there at Task Force 160th with some spec op guys, we can come in at 1 a.m. when they think we're not there and look good doing it and not risk something going wrong. And again, I'm talking about like some place where we generally aren't. But we have observation and we say, look, let's hit these people, right? Let's hit this coyote train or whatever it is. 100%. Again, that's part of the psychology. And again, I'm not looking to harm anybody, but we need to stop the madness And I'm the guy that says, let's fix it. I've been saying it for years. Let's fix up Central and South America and make it work for these people. You're not doing me any favors by forcing them to come up here and work for you for slave wages. Again, Mr. Bannon brings up some of that. The trick is, and this is the goal, and I know China received it because they're trying some of it. It is as we advance the rest of the world and make them consumers. And again, I'm not saying like consumerism, like some sort of devilish demon thing where make these people consumers and we control them or anything like that. But the idea is we improve the quality of life in those other places, and then there's more wealth to go around because now they're consumers. So we want Mexico, we want Guatemala, we want El Salvador to become a place where people want to go to. In other words, people go from the United States, so I'll go live down in El Salvador. And it's happening, kind of, isn't it? Right? Some people say that El Salvador is very safe. Right? So they want to go down there and live there for a while. So we improve the quality of life for Central and South America, and then they don't want to come up here as much, at least. And then it won't matter. Once we drop the numbers below a certain level, it won't matter. And you can't have open borders because, you know what that means for prostitution and narcotics and everything else. So again, you have to use your mind, and you can take care of people, but there's, you got to keep the world safe. Right. But again, the things I'm thinking of, at this point, it's not going to probably happen in my lifetime, but it doesn't mean we can't begin to build it. And again, maybe so. I mean, if we decide we're gonna go into Mexico and take out the cartels no matter what, day in and day out, it could happen. Mexico could become the model of the United, almost like the United States. And that's the key to this thing, is to increase the quality of life in these other places. And China is trying to do that because as you increase their quality of life, then they become consumers, and then you can sell things to them. And then at a certain point, then everybody says, wow, the world's, everybody's consuming. We don't have to worry that China is selling this. We don't have to worry, China doesn't have to worry that the United States is selling this because there's enough consumerism to go around. Well, I just laugh at all the stuff you fight. Just because China's doing it doesn't mean it's bad. But if you remain their enemy, again, I wish China would just drop Taiwan. I mean, obviously, Putin should have dropped the idea of anything in Ukraine, and we'd all been better off. I mean, all that money spent to just kill people. I mean, really think of what's God's view of what you're all doing. Well, because I don't think it's necessary to have Taiwan as part of China. Now, if there's bad blood and you think they're spying on you, and maybe they are, CIA uses them, I don't know. Maybe there's bad blood, and that's something different. But there's no need for China to expand its size so that Taiwan is part of. I mean, because it's like with Putin. It's like, oh yeah, Russia used to own this. Yeah, Poland used to own it. Lithuania used to own it. You're just picking like a 200-year period. Even the Kievians, So again, it's the same thing with China. I mean, you were once Mongolian, I think. So should Taiwan be Mongolian? But again, I'm not big on geography, like owning land. It's just the number of people that die over land, it's insane. I tell the Native Americans, look, I don't own land. I rent, okay? Talk to my landlord. My landlord has your land. I don't have it. So again, there's a lot that can be done. So I'm trying to work through that one. I'm seeing some scenarios in my mind, and nighttime scenarios, and maybe what we're seeing is that we do need to step up some of the nighttime operations as far as quality of uh, of operator. Just not everybody, but again, bring somebody in that can do some training. There's a prime opportunity to increase the level of technical proficiency of the military police people that are patrolling. They could be put into helicopters and get a little bit of experience moving around with Task Force 160th at night. I don't know if they're going to be deployed there or not, but that's probably something like that is what we want. And again, like I said, you can go to possibly Texas Special Forces and find that quality too. I don't know. I know there's a Special Forces unit there. I'm trying to break through what I'm saying. It's not open yet, but I can see at least that part. All right. Also, officer safety, as far as officer survival, officer safety. Okay, so they're military police. They've been trained. They're most likely the combat military police unit. And again, people work sometimes garrison, sometimes work those units. So again, they probably have a wealth of experience within that unit, especially you go up in the ranks. We just need to hit home, officer. They need to be reminded of. I don't know if they do. You can do officer survival. I imagine they do, but we just got to remind people of officer survival and officer safety. Right. We just got to remind that you got to put that fresh in their mind. We don't want anybody taking the chances that they don't need to take. Again, the idea, if it's a felony traffic stop, it's a felony traffic stop. Let's do a felony traffic stop. Not to say they would do traffic stops. Just don't take the chances and use everything you need to use to keep yourself safe. So again, if you give them, you may want to bring in a Texas Ranger to do some officer survival, officer safety, just a couple days, or maybe an hour here, an hour there, or even just a state trooper, whatever it is. And Border Patrol could do it also. Right. I know they have probably people that worked at FLETC that are down there by the border. It's just something that's very important. And again, the Marshal Service back when I guess they still do it, they send you an advanced course. They're always sending you somewhere, and you're always getting a dose of officer safety and officer survival. It's very important. Again, I don't know how much the military does. Again, they train a little different sometimes. So theoretically, there's going to be some movement at night, and it's not like, it's not like new, but I haven't got why something is focusing us on that. But they say it's important for us to be able to move at night by helicopter quickly and very accurately. That's the psychic inference. Again, it's also coming up with officer evacuation, medical evac. So that's why officer safety and officer survival came up. Ambush. Again, let's get our eyes, our GSR, our flare, all that kind of stuff, or FLIR, so we know where they are. Ambush is coming up, so it's and you've been ambushed before. I know that. Right, so ambush is coming up. They may be becoming desperate. There might be an increase in attempts to ambush the Border Patrol and the military down there. So night vision. Again, if we can monitor the border enough. Again, I brought this up before. The walls are great. I've said this since 2007 or 8 because I started contributing. Because I woke up at a certain point and I was like, we're still in the military. We're still we're still deployed overseas. This is not supposed to be occurring. We should have already stood down. We should already be back here and ready to deploy again if we have to. We should have special ops, spec ops doing the training and all that over there, and as advisors and stuff like that. So you never totally pull out, but you're not a constant presence where people think you're or see you as an invader. Because the OPFOR, because the insurgency will say that you're an invader, and if you stay too long, then you look like an invader, even if you're not an invader. Right? But again, I did see the collateral damage, and you have to understand collateral damage messes up everything because then everybody hates you. Right. I didn't realize the collateral damage was that high. That's one of the factors that you have to minimize when you go into combat because you're trying to win over those people. I don't care what you say about history and how it was never proven. That's the only way to win. And that's how Gantt was winning until Deep State killed him. And then you pulled Major Gantt out and we lost. I mean, it killed me, they killed Gantt. You're figuring it out, right? I was surprised to see Gantt because I kept going, they need to do this, they need to do that. And then Gantt pops up like, oh, there he is. He'll do it. My gosh. The deep state took out Gantt. Everybody knows how it really works when the deep state's not taking somebody out. Right. Thank you. You're welcome, whoever you are. So I'm not sure what the engineers are going to do with the concertina, but make sure you think through it. Make sure they're just not slapping it up there because it could happen. I mean, this is one of those one-off projects. So you may want to get, on a fence, when you have a fence or a wall, and again, look at it like a prison, you make sure we're doing it by some sort of standard. Even if you're doing it half-assed right now, I don't know who would be best for that. You may even want to bring in a civilian to help design it, a civilian engineer that does that kind of stuff at prisons, maybe a Board of Prisons person knows. I'm Bureau of Prisons. What I'm getting at is we want to make sure it's based upon some legitimate standard that has reasoning. Right. There may even be something you might want to add, over time to the top of the fence, where you build mounts for the concertina roll, and you put an additional roll right across the top. At that point, you probably need somebody to weld real quick. Weld, or you could probably maybe drill and bolt. So you might want to build mounts for the concertina for the top of the fence, so you can put one roll right across the top. And then there's no way to shake it off. But you got like a piece of whatever type of metal going straight up through it or around it like a V, like you do at the prisons, some of the prisons. Right. And then you can better connect it to that metal, and then they can't shake it off. And even Texas got prison people that probably could help you design something. I guess the V would work the best, and then you tie it to that piece of metal. But we need to make it a speedy operation, whatever it is. I mean, maybe somebody can weld real quick. I'm not sure who you have. Again, we have people that weld. It's in the military. We can bring them in. I think that was a good one. I think that maybe is where I'll leave it for now. Broke through something. Right. So again, we want to bring in some spec ops people, not necessarily uh, for everyday patrol or something like that, but again, have them do some of the planning, have them do some training. Right. Make sure we have some highly skilled spec op helicopter pilots for something we might have to do at night. Again, I can't see it all. Again, medevac. Go over medevac procedures. Let's start focusing on medevac. Make sure we have enough medics. Make sure we have enough. Again, we can build a field hospital, and it'll be in theater, quote unquote. You know, we won't have to travel to it. We won't have to pay some civilian doctor $1 million because they charge the government extra money, you know, or something like that. So my big recommendation is to move some military hospitals. Look for volunteers when it comes to, if you can. Right. I'm always big on that, especially with doctors, because they can get disgruntled because they make big money. Right. And sometimes they feel like, oh, I didn't come here to do this or come here to do that. Right. They used to complain about treating Iraqis and stuff like that. They didn't like it. Or the Kurds, I guess it was the Kurds. I am seeing that we need, again, it's due diligence. Metaphysically, if we bring a hospital in or a couple hospitals, maybe one main hospital and some sub hospitals, right, or sub stations, we won't have a problem. But what I'm saying is we're going to need the medevac. And the best case scenario is for us to have our own hospital with emergency medical right, available down on the border. Well, stay peaceful. Praise God, and all that you do, praise God.